And welcome once again, folks, to the top of the hour. I am Mark Johnston, your host today for VID5 conference, sponsored, of course, by our friends at Laurentian Bank Securities and a number of fantastic partners we will thank at the end of the day. I want to thank everyone for their patience. There have been a few technical glitches, as there always is in the world of tech, but we are moving along nicely. I want to remind everyone again that the panel discussion from today, hosted by Barry Allen of Laurentian Bank Securities, will be available on our YouTube channel under VID TV. We had a recording through the Zoom platform as we handled some big marker platform issues that were happening around North America today. So as it is the top of the hour, once again, we have a new session starting up. And today, at this point, we'll be welcoming Chad Peters, who is with us from Ridgeline Minerals. He'll be along in just a moment or two. There was a slight delay in his joining the program today. I do want to remind everyone that the surveys that we offer at the end of every session are pivotal for us here at VID conferences. We welcome your feedback. It helps us do a better job next time. And then after each survey, you're typically directed at the top of the hour to the next session. So far, we've had a remarkable collection. Keynote speakers, of course, yesterday, we had whiskey and gunpowder represented, talking about the industry that's at hand. And of course, we welcome thoughts from everyone about each and every session that's offered. The community of VID conferences, really our whole intent here as a brand is to bring investors and businesses, companies together to talk one-on-one. So as you've seen our format, typically the president, CEO, we've had a communications manager, various executives from inside the companies that share a tour of the company and where they're at the moment. And then we each session have questions from the audience that allow us to get to know the companies better. So you're very much a big part of this process. As we do each session, please remember to let us know where you're tuning in from around the world. And also that the questions go into the Q&A session. They're curated and offered on a priority basis as they come in to our guests each session. So at this point, we're looking for any insight that you might have for each company. Ridgeline Minerals has been with us in the past, and we're hopeful that Chad can join us in the next moment or two. There's been a technical issue on his end, but know that we have obviously a couple more sessions today. Moving forward, we'll have Magna Terra and then Lucky Minerals to round out the day today. And tomorrow we'll have a full roster of companies ready to go as well. So this 3-day conference is really, so far, bringing investors and companies together. And I see in the background, we have Mr. Chad Peters himself joining us from Ridgeline Minerals. Chad, thank you for getting online. Appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. I've been in and out of internet service all day, so it's been quite the afternoon already. So anyways, I'm here. Thank you for taking the time. I wanted to thank Ryan Hanley and the Laurentian team for having me on again. Really appreciate it. So today I'm going to walk you through Ridgeline Minerals, why I think we're a great investment. We're a Nevada-focused company. I'm going to have a few forward-looking statements here, so please, use your own judgment when looking at our company. So why invest in Ridgeline Minerals? We are a Nevada-focused gold, silver explorer. I'm a geologist by trade. Been down here in Nevada for over 10 years now. And after forming Ridgeline in 2018, was able to consolidate 4 highly prospective projects across 154 square kilometer portfolio. So we are one of the largest junior landholders in Nevada. And we're using that to, what we're doing is, one of the things that really sets us apart is our strategic drilling contract. So the co-founder of Ridgeline Minerals, he owns a drilling company. And in his return for his equity stake in Ridgeline at the founding stage, Ridgeline got a 15,000 meter drill contract at cost. Now that means we can put more money in the ground, and every shareholder dollar goes a little bit farther with Ridgeline. So we're about a little over halfway through that contract right now, and we've been able to use it to really great benefit for the company. So we have a new Nevada discovery at our Selena project that is hosted. It is a silver, gold, lead, zinc, shallow oxide story with great potential that we'll be drilling in the spring. We've also just recently signed a $20 million US Nevada gold mines earn-in at our Swift project. So we've been very active since going public in 2020, been really trying to just build shareholder value, make new discoveries. And we've really got a great team that's kind of driving that. So our team combined has found over 50 million ounces of gold globally over the last 40 years. We have a very tight share float with management owning over 15% of the stock. So really set up for a good move for the company if we continue to have success with the drill bit. So a few points to make out. Folks like my VP Exploration, Mike Harp. Mike led the multi-million ounce North Dark Star discovery for Gold Standard Ventures. That was a big discovery in Nevada about 5 years ago. And that company went to almost $1 billion market cap over that time frame. So Mike's found over 5 million ounces in Nevada. I myself led the US exploration for Premier Gold Mines, which is now i-80 Gold in Nevada, and was lucky enough to lead a great team that made a multi-million ounce high-grade discovery at the Gap deposit. That's now the highest grade undeveloped underground ore body in Nevada, not owned by Nevada Gold Mines. So, and then we've just really tried hard to really surround ourselves. We're a young team. We really surround ourselves with folks that have been there, made discoveries, and sold companies in the past, and we rely heavily on their input as we grow. So from a cap structure perspective, we have a nice tight share float, 55 million shares, non-diluted. We currently sit on a cash position of about 2.6 million Canadian. We're going to end the year with about 2.3 million Canadian, which is a strong cash position. We're set up so that we can go out and fully execute on our spring drill program at our Selena project, which is 100% owned, with what we have in the treasury. Sorry, I have a dog here that's barking away at the door. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So anyways, aside from that, like I mentioned, we have 15% management ownership. 7% is owned by myself. I'm the largest individual shareholder in the company. And I was able to do that by bootstrapping the company for the first 15 months as a private company, and then putting 150,000 of my own capital into the company at various levels, all the way up through the IPO raise at 45 cents. So strong cash position, great partners in EMX, Vior, and Ethos from public company support. 12 institutions bought in on the IPO, strong retail following on the stock, and just under 70 million shares fully diluted. So really strong capital structure heading into what I think will be a very big year for Ridgeline on the exploration front. And any continued success with the drill bit, I think, could really see this stock take off. So we're going to look at our 4 projects. First, I'm going to walk you through the Swift project, which is the earn-in with Nevada Gold Mines. Then we're going to take a look at Bell Creek and Carlin East, where we just finished and announced not so great results at the Carlin East drill program on our kind of maiden program there just last week. And we're going to finish off at Selena, but I still think there's tons of upside at Carlin East, and I'll show you why. So looking at Swift, this is a 75 square kilometer land package, high-grade underground gold target. As we mentioned, this is option to NGM on a 20 million US 5-year initial term, with additional ways for them to earn additional stake in the project. I'll walk you through that. So this is a 4-part deal. It started with a cash reimbursement of just under 500,000 Canadian. That was followed by a 5-year initial earn-in term, where they have to spend 20 million in qualifying work expenditures over that 5-year period to earn a 60% stake in the project. Now, on top of that, there's actually a $4 million US guarantee in the first 2 years of the deal. So this is forcing money into the ground early, which is exactly what we wanted to see on the project, right? These are deep, these are expensive holes. You want to see that exploration going in the ground early and make a new discovery. And that's exactly what they're doing. They actually just mobilized a drill rig to Swift last week, which we just announced last Tuesday, I believe. So there's also 2 more parts to this deal. So there's a 10 million for 10% option after the initial earn-in. And on top of that, what's one of my favorite parts of the entire deal is the development option. So over this period, if there's a major discovery made, NGM can earn up to a 75% interest in the project by carrying the project fully to production, including Ridgeline's portion of the debt financing required to put this thing into production at their cost of capital. Now, layman's terms, we never write a check again, all the way from exploration to first gold pour. And I think that's really important as a junior company, right? These things are capital intensive projects, these deep underground mines in Nevada. They can be hundreds of millions of dollars in CapEx to put in production. We have zero risk and exposure to our shareholders through the way that we've structured this deal. And if there's a successful discovery here, a 25% carried interest in what could be the next 4 Mile, the next Gold Rush discovery, which are 10 million plus ounce discoveries made by Nevada Gold Mines in the same district, would be a substantial win for us and our shareholders. So very exciting deal. I think it really validates the tier 1 discovery potential at the project. We've been on a soapbox for 2 years saying that we think this is an incredible project, but to have NGM come in, validate that thesis with them coming in with this deal is a big deal for us. So want to walk you through why NGM came and did this deal. Here you see a project sitting right on trend of over 35 million ounces of reserves that are in the Cortez district. This entire district is owned by Nevada Gold Mines. We came in, we drilled our first program in 2020. We hit the same host rocks, the Wenban Formation, as what hosts all of these mines to the south. Now, what's significant there is this project had actually been written off historically as not being prospective because it wasn't believed that those host rocks existed. We came in, we turned the geologic model around, consolidated the districts, and proved that thesis was incorrect, and that's what brought NGM into this deal, which was a really exciting deal for us. So we'll just take a quick look at the project. There we go. So as you can see, directly on trend of a 20 million ounce gold mine at the Pipeline deposit. You take a look at the structural setting here. The reason that we first picked this project up is there's a general trend in a northwest orientation where all of these deposits are hosted. Every time you get a cross-cutting fault zone, you end up with a significant 10 to 20 million ounce gold mine. Now, the next cross-cutting fault zone that we believed existed regionally cuts right across our project. So when you look, you see these big deposits with these little tiny guys, discoveries that were made 20 years before the big one was found. This is a sign of the bigger system. And you can see that we actually have a gold mine right at surface off the edge of our project. So we see a lot of similarities here that got us initially excited. We came in, we did all the baseline work, built the geologic model out, realized, okay, here's some shallow rocks in this nice red area here that could be shallower Wenban Formation. That corresponded really strongly with a very widespread geochemical anomaly that was kilometers long. We've actually, since NGM has expanded that work down to the south and is showing that that continues. And when we drilled these two holes at the Fallen City, here's what they look like. So we actually ended up hitting the Wenban Formation, which is hosted in light blue there. And we hit that at 400 meters depth. So that's very shallow for this neck of the woods in Nevada. Both of those holes hit the right same full section of host rock. We didn't hit significant grades, although we did hit narrow intervals of up to 900 grams silver, low gold. We drilled one more hole over on this side that we lost in a fault zone that was actually going for this target area here, which was following up on a historical drill hole that actually hit 18 meters of 0.7 grams gold in the right host rocks and never got followed up on back in 1999. So pretty much where NGM has picked up where we left off is they're coming in and they're drilling essentially this target about a kilometer to the south of this cross section. So we can look here at a plan view map. They're coming in. There's where that drill hole is. I just showed you on our cross section was right here. They're drilling right here, and they're going after the same structural intersections along a high geochemical anomaly. They've rock chipped up to 9 grams per ton, 9.8 grams per ton gold at surface. I mean, this is a very exciting target. It's still early days for the NGM drill program, and their focus is long-term, going after this project and really systematically testing it. So we'll have results out from that program probably in mid to late Q1 of 2022, and we're really looking forward to seeing how that shapes up. So that's our Swift project. Moving on to Bell Creek. This is a 5 square kilometer project, just a little postage stamp right in the middle of the North Carlin Trend. And what I'd like to point out is you see Bell Creek here, which is right beside Carlin East. Sorry, there we go. Get the view a little bigger for you. So here's our Carlin East project in yellow. Bell Creek is in white. And we're sitting right beside one of Nevada Gold Mines' most high priority development assets, which is the Ren deposit. They're currently putting this into production. I'll turn off my emails here. There we go. They're currently putting this into production. As you can see, in 2020, they made a significant discovery, in 2021, they just announced recently a new discovery at the Ren area. So this is only 600 meters. Look at this right here. That's 600 meters from the edge of our project. It's sitting right on the edge of multiple mines in the area. You can see the 40 million ounce Gold Strike mine sits just to the south. And they actually have this thing going into production already, or into development. They actually have an underground drift here in white. You can see right there. And they've drilled intercepts of up to 12 meters of 27 grams, 17 meters of 5 grams, 7 meters of 22 grams. I mean, these are really significant intercepts. And those faults sit right on the edge of our project. So you can see these northeasters that cut across our project, they are bounding the Ren deposit. So there is considerable potential to come in, drill holes along the projection of these structures where they come from known mineralization only 600 meters away and have some success. So it's a very strategic chunk of ground for us. We have a surface access agreement already negotiated with Nevada Gold Mines, which means that we can come in and access this site using existing road infrastructure at this mine site. I mean, you can't forget this is an active mine, right? Like we have 100% ownership, 5 square kilometers of ground in what is one of the largest active gold mining complexes in the world. So it's a great location to be. We'd like to come in here in the future, raise some additional capital and go drill some holes on the Bell Creek side of the property as they continue to advance this towards a maiden resource, which we're told will be the end of this year, early 2022. So very exciting chunk of ground. Sits right beside our Carlin East project, which is 35 square kilometers. We just finished a drill program at Carlin East. It was a very frustrating experience. It was very deep and expensive drilling. And I'll walk you through what that looks like. Just to give you a little context on the project, as I mentioned, Bell Creek's right there. Carlin East is here in yellow. We're only 2.5 kilometers from a 40 million ounce gold mine at Goldstrike. And we're directly on trend of the Leeville underground mine, which sits only 4 kilometers. Look here, sits only 4 kilometers away from our project. A new discovery was announced by Nevada Gold Mines in 2020 called North Leeville. Now that discovery is located just north of the Leeville deposit. So everything here is the new North Leeville discovery. And they've defined over 2 kilometers of strike to this thing now. It is really high grade. I mean, they've got intercepts 42 meters, 32 grams per ton in Q3 of 2021, 23 meters of 33 grams, 12 meters of 18, 26 meters of 20, and 27 meters of 18 grams. This is incredibly high grade. It's only 4 kilometers from the edge of our project area. And our focus in 2021 was to come in and try to test along the projection of this same fault zone, the Four Corners Fault, that is the bounding host to the mineralization at both Leeville and the North Leeville discovery. So how do we come in and do the targeting? Right now, you're looking at residual gravity. All that high shows you is the same shallow white rocks here. They project up into our project. We ended up drilling right here, which is kind of at the northern end of that shallow anomaly. And we had intended on drilling an additional two more holes for a total of 3 holes across the strike of that about 1 kilometer of that shallow anomaly. We also used magnetics to come in and do some targeting as well. As you can see, an important point to point out, there is a buried intrusion along the northwest edge of our property. That's the same orientation as a major buried intrusion at the Goldstrike intrusive that hosts right on the margins of the Goldstrike, Genesis, and Leeville mines. So if you see what that looks like just from a trace, when you trace out those intrusives, look at the relationship between mineralization at North Leeville, which sits right here, and our crash zone target. Both of those intrusions are torn apart right along the Four Corners Fault Zone. And that was our primary target when we were coming in and testing the crash zone this year. So I'm going to show you a cross section all the way from Leeville to our project. Here's what it looks like. And this is why we're still excited about this project, right? When you look, you got all of the mineralization along this part of the corridor. That's over 30, I think it's close to 35 million ounces now between Carlin, Leeville, and what will eventually become the North Leeville discovery. That's all hosted in the same host rocks, and it's just getting progressively deeper as it goes to the north, right? So by the time you get to North Leeville, that 42 meters of 32 grams is somewhere between 800 and 900 meters vertical depth. As you head towards this 4 kilometer gap between North Leeville and our project, you're just seeing everything get progressively deeper as you head to the north towards us. So we drilled just moving things around. We drilled a 1,200 meter hole here with CE 2103. This did not hit the projected host horizons we were going after. Reason being, we drilled on the wrong side of this fault right here. We thought the fault was located right along this intrusive block. It was actually a few hundred meters to the south. As a result, we drilled the deeper side of that fault zone and we didn't hit our intended target. Now we tried to drill into this same block of ground with hole number 5 right here. And unfortunately, we lost that hole again in difficult drilling conditions. This is incredibly difficult drilling and we were unable to complete the hole. So we actually ended up deferring the rest of the program. Drilling costs were skyrocketing. They're very high in Nevada right now. And we wanted to make sure that we adequately test this project the right way, come in with our next drill program and test this conceptual target of depths between probably 1,000 and 1,250 meters in that shallower block to the south of where we drilled hole number 3. So still great conceptual potential here at the target. This is a very consistently mineralized corridor all the way along the system, and we fully expect NGM to make additional discoveries in between our projects, and we hope that we're going to make a discovery on our project itself. It's just deep. So that's Carlin East and Bell Creek, very strategic chunks of ground. We need to be careful how we move these projects forward because it can be very dilutive, drilling these kind of deep holes. So we want to make sure we're careful about how we go after it. This is just a view of a cross-sectional view of that drill hole. Again, we hit some of these marker beds like this light green. That's a greenstone unit. We hit some marker beds that gave us pretty strong indication we were almost at our target rocks, but our cost and our schedule had just ballooned to a point where it was time to take a step back. But we do know we're getting close. So that would be our focus moving into 2022, would be raise additional capital to go after deep holes like this and try to get at least 3 to 5 holes into the program. So now we've talked about Swift, Carlin East and Bell Creek. These are our deep projects. Now I want to walk you through our Selena project. It's 40 square kilometers. It's a shallow oxide play that's a nice complement to our deeper high-grade targets at our other 3 projects. We had a new discovery in 2020. Very successful drill program in 2021 led to additional high-grade discoveries at depth on strike of the deposit. And that included drill holes up to 44 meters of 123 grams silver, 0.1 grams gold, 1.5% lead, and 0.6% zinc. So starting to get a polymetallic component that we didn't anticipate, which is pretty exciting. So you look at the location of the project. We are sitting right on the extension of the South Carlin Trend, about 20 kilometers from the Bald Mountain Mine, which is a 5 million ounce open pit hosted in the same rocks as at our project. And we sit right beside the Butte Valley Porphyry, which is a copper gold porphyry system that sits right beside, sorry, I thought I was losing my internet for a second here. And it sits right beside our project. It's the main driver of mineralization on the property. There we go, still working, I think. Let's see here. There we go. Could be trouble, folks, if I get, I'll sign back in if I lose you. So here's our project, nice contiguous block of ground. What really excited us about the project initially is look at some of the rock chips we were getting at surface. 260 grams silver, 6 grams gold, 73 grams silver, 12 grams gold, over 1,500 grams silver and 5 grams gold at surface and oxide. So that's what drew us to the project. 2020, we went in, we trenched right to the north of that and hit 38 meters of 51 grams silver and 0.7 grams gold. Followed that up with 36 drill holes on almost 7,000 meters using our drilling contract exclusively. So that's where our drilling contract with our partner really sings, right? We can drill shallow, quick holes, dirt cheap. We drilled for under $25 a foot on average across those 36 holes. My drill costs at Carlin East with a third-party contractor for deep core drilling was over $300 a foot. So you can see where the benefit is to continue advancing this Selena discovery. We had some pretty exciting high-grade hits that are focused along structural intersection. Everything in purple is nice high-grade hits. And where those intersect northwest and northeast faults, you get nice high-grade blowouts. Here's what some of our intersections look like as we drill down dip of the structure. We had our great trenches right up here, and the system just dips gently under surface. And gold is decreasing in grade as we head to the west, and silver is typically increasing. So we step to the south. You can see some of our better hits from 2021. Within this 44 meters of high-grade silver, we actually hit 13 meters of over 200 grams silver, multi% lead and zinc, and higher grade gold as well. Same thing with this 10.7 meter intercept of 194 silver and multi% lead and zinc. We actually hit 5 meters of 400 grams silver, 4.5% lead, 3.5% zinc, and 0.6 grams per ton gold. This is a really interesting polymetallic intercept that suggests that we're no longer in like a Carlin type system. We actually realized we're in a CRD related system that is directly associated with that porphyry directly to the west of our project boundary. That's what's pushing all that mineralization into the system. And if you take a look at the greater picture here, here's our discovery right here. As we drill to the west, whoops, my mistake. As we drill west here, we hit more and more lead and zinc and high-grade silver and less gold. Now that's directly related to fluids pushing out of this porphyry system millions of years ago when the whole system was forming. So if you look at a classic zonation model of a porphyry, here's what we believe we have. So we're sitting on a skarn edge of the system here. There's our porphyry. You're going to get skarn mineralization on the edges. Then you're going to get into a silver, lead, zinc, classic CRD type deposit, which a good example of a well-known CRD would be Arizona Mining's Taylor deposit, which was sold to South 32 for a few $1 billion in 2018, I believe. That was a massive CRD discovery right off the edges of a porphyry system. That's the kind of thing that we're going after. So what we found in 2020 is we just drilled the edges, call it the edges of the CRD system as it transitions to silver and gold. Now, the reason that it changes as it gets farther away from the porphyry is it's directly related to temperature and pH of the system. So as fluids are getting pushed out, your silver and gold rich fluids, as they're getting pushed out of the porphyry, they're getting farther and farther away. And as the temperature drops, the chemistry of the fluids change, and you get different metals dropping out. So those metals that drop out right in the center, that's silver, lead, and zinc, plus or minus gold. We discovered the edge of the gold system, and there's even just a gold-only system on the very edge of our project where we can rock chip, gram per ton gold at surface. We don't get any silver or base metals. So what we want to focus on in 2022 with a 5,000 meter program is drilling that CRD target. That has huge tonnage potential and could be an absolute game changer for the company if we're correct. So here's what we'd look at. We're going to look at a long section right along this image. And this is our conceptual target. So this is 2 scale. It's our 3D leapfrog model. And here's that porphyry at depth. We have all the drill hole data for that from the historic drilling. Edge of our property sits right here. And we think the edge of the property would be right on the transition between skarn and CRD. We've already proven you have a gold silver system here that is transitioning to silver, lead, zinc as we drill deeper and underneath the system to the west. And we had drill holes, like I said, one of our last drill holes of the year hit 5 meters of 156 silver, 0.5 gram gold, and multi% lead and zinc. Now, if we want to get into even higher grades, we believe we need to be over to the west, kind of halfway between this porphyry and our known discovery. So we're very excited to come out and drill that in 2022. That program is going to start in April. It's going to take us about 2.5 months. We're going to drill roughly 5,500 to 6,000 meters, of which I already mentioned we are fully financed to go out and do that program. So between our Swift program, which was drilled by which is currently being drilled by NGM, we're going to have results for that in Q1 of 2022. We're going to be doing some permitting and geophysics in Q1 at Selena as well. Then we're going to follow up with that program with results coming out in May and June and July of 2022. So I like to think that we're really setting up for a strong kind of first half to the year, multiple catalysts at multiple projects. And we're working on a really exciting acquisition right now, shallow oxide play that would be a perfect kind of complement to our Selena project. Fits really well into our existing drill contract where we can drill cheap, shallow holes. And I think it's going to, again, it just gives us another kick at the can to go out and make a big discovery. So I think that's what, if you kind of just break it down into what Ridgeline offers to shareholders, we have partnerships with the largest companies in the world here at Swift. NGM is actually a joint venture between Barrick Gold and Newmont. So we've proven that we can make, we can generate quality projects, significant discovery potential at Selena, and strategic land positions at Carlin East and Bell Creek. We are directly on trend of 2 ongoing discoveries that NGM has made, one of which at Bell Creek is only 600 meters away. So lots of upside, and I look forward to answering all of your questions. So thank you.
That's terrific. Thank you very much for that, Chad. It was a great tour through the company vision and where things are at. That program is absolutely fantastic to get an inside view of where things are at. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, thanks, Mark. I hope the wasn't too much lag there with the internet. A few times I saw the router start blinking behind me and got nervous. So
I hear you. Fair enough. Let's get into our first questions from the audience here. What catalysts, Chad, can we watch for in the next few months with Ridgeline Minerals?
Yeah, you bet. So I think the 2 primary catalysts, let's call it through Q1 of 2022, is going to be our new acquisition that we're working on. Like I said, we're focusing on bringing in new grassroots opportunities into our project pipeline now that we moved Swift into Barrick's hand or NGM's hands. Mm-hmm. So new acquisitions as well as results coming out of the Swift project from Barrick. So that'll be really exciting. I can't wait for those results. We'll see what comes up.
Good stuff, Chad. Thank you for that. Question also comes in. Do you continue to look at other projects? If yes, what qualities are you looking for before acquiring a project?
Yeah, we're always looking for new projects. exploration is risky, and frankly, not every play turns into a big win, right? So you need to have multiple projects in the pipeline to keep on advancing your story. Something that I always look for is scale. I think if anyone looks back at these projects I just showed you, every single one of them has significant scale potential, right? We're not going after 500,000 ounce projects. They frankly just don't get investors excited, right? And they don't generate big returns for shareholders. And I'm the largest shareholder in the company. So I'm looking for scale, and I'm looking for heavy exploration upside. So we want something that maybe has been forgotten about by other operators. And yes. Mike and myself have both kind of made a career of coming into forgotten about areas and kind of rethinking the geology there.
Exciting. Thank you for that. Getting a bit more detailed here. Lately, there seems to be a lot of Nevada gold mines exploration in close vicinity to your Carlin East and Bell Creek properties. Yes. Specifically, what have you seen at their Wren project and their Leeville discovery, and how does this impact your work plans on your properties?
Well, we actually, it's interesting. That's a great question, because we hadn't really done much work. We avoided doing any work at our Wren project until we had some news coming out of, or our Bell Creek, sorry, until Wren started generating news. So what's really, was frustrating for us is we picked up Bell Creek almost 2 years ago. And even though we knew they were doing an underground decline, they weren't putting out results. We realize now it's because South Arturo, which was 40% owned by i-80 Gold, was in the middle of being horse traded with NGM for another asset in Nevada. So NGM wasn't interested in talking about Wren until they finalized this deal nearby. So now in Q3, they actually started talking about Wren. And you realize that they're onto a multi-million ounce discovery that still has good upside and is only 600 meters from the project. So now that we know what they're doing, we can actually go out and start making plans. Should we go out and drill this project? So that's Bell Creek. And then at Leeville, our goal this year, when we did this program, was to come out. We had enough evidence from what they were doing at their Leeville North discovery, sitting right here. We had enough geologic evidence to go out and say, look, it's worth spending $1 million going after, a discovery up here. Unfortunately, the issue we ran into wasn't the geology, it was the execution, right? And not on, we could not get the holes down to depth. These are incredibly difficult drill holes to complete. And, we just had uncontrolled costs. And so the goal was to come out and prove that there's potential here at the crash zone target in similar host rocks as to here. And we didn't answer that question. So I think at Carlin East, we need to raise more capital. We need to find a new drilling contractor. Not my partner is great, but I need to find a new core contractor. And yeah, hopefully we can close the gap on as they continue to drill this direction. We'll just start working our way this way and hopefully meet them in the middle.
Well, that's great. And it's either a great segue. We're going to double up here because Eric's asking here, Chad. First of all, this is great presentation, Chad. Carlin East, was this directional core drilling? Who was the drill contractor?
It wasn't directional. It was just regular diamond core. Major Drilling was the group that drilled for us. And, I've worked with Major for almost 10 years. They've been my primary drilling contractor in Nevada. So to say that, the reason we didn't get holes down was their fault would be unfair. It's difficult drilling and it's incredibly expensive. So, we need to come in and find a group that's kind of, is willing to take a risk on drilling these deeper holes, because there's risk involved for the drilling companies as well, right? They're putting their reputation on the line to try to get holes down. So, I think that we will adjust our focus. Also, we'll be doing deeper pre-collars. We only drilled pre-collars to 500 meters. We'll probably drill them to 800 meters this time.
Oh, okay.
Case the holes off and then follow up with core deeper next time around.
Very good. Well, listen, we'll continue with Eric's energy here. He also asks, what was the all-in per meter cost?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think in cost per foot now, since I've been living in Nevada for almost a decade, but let's say we were $347 a foot was our average cost at Carlin East.
Okay.
So you take that, we're talking about $1,138 a meter. I mean, I could have flew to the top of a mountain at the Golden Triangle and drilled holes for about the same price. So, it's not lost on us that was incredibly expensive. My goal is to come back in and drill these holes at closer to $800 a meter next time around. And I think we can do that. We just got to let the market cool.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Listen, Donald's asking here, Chad, in addition to the metal zoning, are there comparable alteration changes? Very exciting.
I assume you're talking about Selena there, Don, based on the zonation pattern. And quick answer to your question is yes. What we see in our geochemistry, and this is a great question here. I'm going to show you arsenic and soil geochemistry. We actually just filled in this gap here this fall. And what you see is this is arsenic. Arsenic is predominantly associated with gold in Nevada.
Okay.
Our strongest arsenic is actually the farthest away from the porphyry, the CRD target. That's seeing the arsenic and the gold getting pushed farthest away. Then you move to antimony, and you're actually getting closer to the system, right? Silver is actually picking up, which is associated with antimony. You're moving closer to the heat source at the porphyry. Oh. Then you get lead. Look at lead sitting right here. Oh. Huge plume of alteration right on the edge of our discovery. Our discovery sits right there. Wow. So you're seeing as you get progressively closer to the porphyry, you're seeing a transition from gold-rich trace element geochemistry to the west, to the east, and then you're heading towards lead and zinc geochemistry as you head. So, here again, our lead and zinc is much higher in this area as you're moving closer. So we're infilling this gap right now, and I think we're going to see a similar zonation pattern as you get closer to the porphyry. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. It's fascinating to see the technology too. Thank you for that, Chad. We have a double question coming in from Tom. I'll start with this one. Bell Creek must be a deep target. 1,000-meter holes as well? Question mark. What trend in geological information indicates Ren consistency?
You bet. So I'd say that Ren or Bell Creek is very likely going to be anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 meter holes. So they're not shallow, no doubt about it. Sorry, that didn't show up well. So we know that they're drilling roughly 700 to 800 meter holes from underground in this general area, which means they're probably in the range of about 1,000 meters to target. And I'm just estimating here, folks, because Barrick isn't putting out that detailed of work. But from what I can estimate, when we know of the geology in the area, then we can expect to see probably in the range of at least greater than 1,000 for sure. And it really depends on fault structures that are cutting across the project that are going to define just how deep that gets, right? So essentially this system here, this major fault, will have parallel faults to it that are running all the way along, and they're all going to drop the system progressively down, right? Wow. So you're going to get deeper as you get into the valley. And what that would kind of look like if you were to look at it would be something along the lines of, here's your big faults, here's your big guy, maybe your target at Ren is sitting right here, and then you drop down and you drop down, and maybe your target on Bell Creek is sitting something like that, right? It's just going to progressively drop along those faults. So lots of question marks for sure at Bell Creek, but pretty exciting opportunity.
Excellent. Well, we'll move on to question number 2 from Tom. Do you believe, Chad, you are currently over, under, or fairly properly valued now? And do you have to raise more money? If so, when?
Sure. I'm a little biased, but we're certainly undervalued at the moment. We're trading at our 52-week lows as of this morning. We've had a nice little bump today. Based on some solid volume as well. But, we traded up to 43 million market cap in June of this year. So that was a 77-cent high. That was off the backs of positive news at Selena. And, frankly, Selena is just one of our, 4 really good projects, right? So now that with NGM taking a bite of Swift, we're a better company today than we were when we were trading at a 43 million market cap. So I'll let you go from there. But that's my take on it.
Fair enough.
Sorry. I also didn't ask. Sorry. We have 2.3 million in the bank at the end of the year. That's enough to get us through July. We can comfortably execute on multiple catalysts during that first, call it 3 to 6 months of the year. So we'll obviously be initiating a financing in the first half of 2022, but at much higher levels would be my hope.
But a decent runway, it sounds like. Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's do the usual look ahead to the next 12 to 18 months. What are the key markers or road posts that the investor should be watching for at Ridgeline?
Well, I think that we're going to see aggressive exploration at Swift, fully funded by our partners at NGM. Like I said, that and a discovery there would be an absolute game changer for the company, right? Like if you look, I always like to compare to Kennerland. I think Zach Flood and those guys are doing an incredible job of their discoveries they've made at Frotet, which is partnered with Sumitomo. And they've seen some nice valuation on their stock as a result. So we certainly could see the stock move up based on Swift alone. I want to advance the discovery at Selena to a full-blown CRD story, in which case that would become kind of our standalone, call it our 100% flagship, after which, Swift is being advanced. Carlin East and Bell Creek are strategic but very expensive stories, so we need to be careful how we advance them. So Selena and Swift are certainly call it our flagship stories, and then we also have acquisitions we've been working on.
Okay. Let me just double back and ask an overview question here. Why is the company so excited, Chad, about the CRD target at Selena?
Well, CRDs, I mean, they get huge. I mean, some of the largest success stories that you see in the marketplace over the last decade have been polymetallic silver, lead, zinc, and gold stories. I mean, you look at Adriatic Metals, which isn't necessarily a CRD, but it is a polymetallic ore body. You look at Arizona Mining's Taylor deposit, multi-billion-dollar takeout. Discovery Metals, Discovery Silver, that is a CRD deposit. So when you find these things, they're really big. They typically tend to be large and they're very valuable. And what's kind of sets our project apart is we have a gold kicker at Selena. So we're in one of the better gold endowed areas of the world. For whatever reason, although we're seeing CRD characteristics to our mineralization, we're seeing a considerably higher gold component. Most of them have zero gold in them. So yeah, it's something that could be an absolute game changer for the company if we can pull it off.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Chad. I would like to maybe look at wrapping things up with just an open door to you. If there's anything else we haven't touched on, thoughts that come to mind to share with our investor community.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I mean, I really appreciate everyone taking the time. I know you're all busy and getting ready to kind of shut down for Christmas here. So thank you for taking the time to let me walk you through it. Really encourage anyone that has additional questions, just reach out to me through our IR team. I'll be happy to set up an individual meeting, walk through the projects. And if anyone wants to learn more, they can go to our website where we have full verified projects for each of these. So everything I showed you today, you can pick up, spin around, and figure out for yourself whether you like the story or not.
Beautiful, Chad. Once again, a very solid presentation. I want to thank you for your promo for the event as well. That went very well for our audience. Yeah. And I think a fantastic engagement with the viewers that are tuning in from around the world. So I will say all the best to you and yours for the holiday season. And, we'll be watching the company into the new year.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks.